So we're back at the Carriage house, which is where our offices are.
Yes.
So you can see it right here.
And there's Billy in the window.
Where? Oh yeah, there he is. That's our office cat. There's Jane's office up there, which actually plays a part in this story. And just FYI, we do have our masks off right now because we're fairly far apart and we're outside, so in the fresh air. So this one's kind of interesting again because it was two people having the same experience. It just so happened that we had this experience maybe 30 minutes apart, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. I'm kind of an early bird, so I'll come in early and drink my coffee. I'll have breakfast here and everything. So I came in that morning, went straight to the kitchen as I normally do, and upstairs, coming from upstairs, I heard two voices, two women speaking, and I forgot Jane was out of town. I thought it was Jane or maybe her answering machine, her voicemail, which is kind of silly because you can't really hear voicemail when people are leaving voicemail. So I just kind of blew it off of, whatever, and I went about my way, about my business until Farah came in. And I guess this was like 30 minutes later, she had heard exactly the same thing.
Right. So I went into the kitchen, which is at the back of the Carriage house, and there's where the staircase is leading up to Jane's office. So I go in, I put my lunch in the fridge like a normal day, and I hear two women speaking up in Jane's office. Now Jane is from New Mexico originally, and she goes back there to visit fairly frequently. This was before COVID, of course. So she had planned to be in New Mexico starting that day. So when I heard the voices, I thought, oh, she decided not to go. Something came up. She's back in the office because that had happened before. So I didn't think too much of it. So I went back in our office where Sylvia and I have our workspaces, and I just kind of casually asked Sylvia, so did Jane decide not to go to New Mexico after all? And she said, no. I said, is she here? And Sylvia's like, no, she's not here. And I said, because I just heard two women talking up in her office.
Right.
And Sylvia was like, you're kidding me, because I heard the same thing. And of course she'd come in a good half hour before I did, because I'm not an early bird. So I thought maybe it was her voicemail.
Yes.
And I had a phone at one point where if you left a voicemail, everyone could hear it. Like everyone could hear the person leaving the voicemail. So I thought, well, maybe Jane has that kind of phone.
And that's what I
so
thought.
yeah, so
Yeah.
Sylvia called, and I ran. This is so stupid. So she called, and I went and stood at the foot of the staircase. You notice I didn't go upstairs, right? So I stood at the foot of the staircase, and I listened for the phone to ring, and I heard the phone ringing,
Yes.
and it went to voicemail. But I never heard anything. Like I never heard Sylvia leaving a voice message. I think she said something like, Jane, we're just testing your voicemail or something like that. But I never heard anything. So whatever it was not voicemail. It was not
Right.
Jane.
We always hear things in this building. We'll be downstairs and we'll hear footsteps. We'll hear that all the time, and there's nobody upstairs. I think we've kind of learned to live with it. I've been here the longest, since April of 2008. And I've experienced something in each one of our buildings, including our former visitor center, which is now the home of the King William Association. I know people
Right.
always ask, well, did somebody die in the house? We do know of one death that happened in the Carriage house many, many years ago. We're not sure of the circumstances, but we know of one death for sure. You can't work in this field and be deathly afraid of ghosts.